Thank you. My name is Amy Cox. I'm the Community Development Manager for the City of Colorado Springs, and I'm here on behalf of the City of Colorado Springs testifying in opposition to House Bill 1191. I oversee the administration of our Community Development Block Grant funding for housing, homeless services, and economic opportunities for everyone, especially low-income people in our community. And I also crafted and am the point person on our initiative to end homelessness in Colorado Springs, which is a plan that raises awareness about the issues of homelessness in our community, helps our providers build capacity to address those needs, and invests in urgent needs very quickly. And I come to this from my own background, growing up in poverty in Colorado Springs, being raised by a very brave teenage mother who struggled most of our lives. So I'm not unfamiliar. The thing about living in poverty is your friends are in poverty. And I'm not unfamiliar with the issues of homelessness and poverty directly. Let me be clear, the City of Colorado Springs supports the rights of all people to live free from discrimination. However, we believe the issues of homelessness are community issues. People experiencing homelessness are experiencing homelessness in our communities, and those issues are best addressed at the local level. In Colorado Springs, 72% of the people experiencing homelessness had their last permanent residence in our community. 83% were from the state of Colorado, so these aren't people necessarily being pushed around. These are people who became homeless in our community. These are our neighbors and our citizens, and we believe that all of our residents deserve access to safe shelter and a community of support to prevent and end homelessness. And we've invested to make this a possibility, and we've quadrupled the number of cold weather beds to ensure that people do not freeze during the winter. We've expanded our outreach to really meet and engage with the people on the street. We're breaking ground on a new shelter and day center that provides showers and laundry and storage and kennels for dogs. We're reducing barriers at the existing facilities. We're training our providers in housing first, harm reduction, and trauma-informed care. So I believe we're acting responsibly. The reality, however, is that as a municipality, we often have to manage a variety of activities and behaviors in public spaces. And the city is one of the communities who recently passed an ordinance, the Pedestrian Access Act, that prohibits sitting in line on public rights-of-ways intended for recreational, pedestrian, or vehicular travel. And we crafted that ordinance very specific to our community, looking at the geographic constraints, ensuring there's ample opportunity for people to engage in life-sustaining behavior. And I think this really illustrates how a local community is better equipped to address its local issues. And I know my time is up, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about our ordinance as you asked previously.
Thank you so very much for your service to the City of Colorado Springs, and I can tell through your testimony that you're very passionate as it relates to this topic. Representative Klinsman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your testimony today. Colorado Springs is kind of a Republican town. We have a Republican mayor, Mayor John Suthers. I had lunch with him today. I think I saw you there. He was a guest, and he, I think, has been behind this ordinance. Now, I am also a Republican, but let me tell you personally that I disagree with the ordinance, or at least the way it's been explained to me. And it does appear to infringe on people's personal liberties. And I'm honestly, of the many Republicans on this side of the table, I've been probably the most on the fence about this bill. And one of the reasons for that is because it has been explained to me by my constituents in Colorado Springs who are liberty-minded that the public doesn't even have access to the public sidewalk anymore. And when people who look like me and are dressed like me, or people who don't look like me and are not dressed like me, when we're all treated as if we're not allowed to sit on a public sidewalk in one place for more than a few minutes, that seems a little heavy-handed. And it seems a little bit like the municipality has taken upon themselves some kind of superpower police enforcement state to move people along. And I don't I don't appreciate that, and I wonder if you could explain to me why the mayor can't take a little bit of a softer approach, even if this bill does not pass. If we can take another look at that ordinance and soften the way that it's been described to me as being enforced.
If you're specific about Colorado Springs, I'd ask that you take that conversation offline. But if you have a question specific to 1191, I'd like to have her respond to that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think your answer will and may influence the way I vote on this bill. Because if there are no assurances from the city that you're gonna think about these heavy-handed ordinances, then I know how to fix it. I could vote yes on this bill, and then those ordinances would go away. So I wonder if you could explain to me the city's perspective on what I just said.
Ms. Cox?
Thank you. There's a lot of misunderstanding about the Pedestrian Access Act in Colorado Springs. It prohibits sitting in line in public right-of-way intended for vehicular, recreational, pedestrian traffic in a very defined area of downtown Colorado Springs and the west side of Colorado Springs. There's plenty of opportunity for sitting. It does not intend to move anybody out of the downtown. Our downtown is filled with benches. All of our planters are designed as seat walls. We have parks where people are absolutely welcome to sit, lie, dance, whatever they want to do in those parks. It's legal. The ordinance allows as an affirmative defense, an emergency, a disability, if you're waiting for the bus. We've defined the boundaries so that it excludes areas where our shelters are located, so that people who are in need of shelter, who may need to sit and wait for shelter and no benches available, they would have the opportunity to sit on the sidewalk. It also is limited to certain hours of the day and does not include overnight. So what we observe when we talk with people on the street is that the time that people were engaged in life-sustaining behavior, sitting or lying on the sidewalk, was during the nighttime hours. So that type of activity is not permitted or prohibited at night. So folks can sleep, sit, lie, whatever they need to do for life-sustaining reasons during the nighttime.
Representative Salazar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Representative Kingston, I know exactly where you're going with this question because this is something that you and I had also discussed. This bill does pertain to what they're doing in Colorado Springs. And I'll tell you that Colorado Springs keeps losing to the ACLU based off of the ordinances that they keep passing. So in the mind of a city attorney, this is how it goes. They say, well, if we can't treat homeless folks differently from those who have homes, then what we're going to do is we're going to just bear the heavy hand on everybody and treat everybody the same way. Which is why now you are concerned about, well, you know, if you're sitting down, then everybody's being asked to move along. If you're sitting down for a little while, everybody's being asked to move along. So essentially what they're doing is they're subjecting people who have homes to exactly what persons who are homeless experience every single day. It's the heavy-handed government. The other thing, and I don't know if you caught this or not, I caught it because I'm a constitutional law attorney, is when she says affirmative defense. Affirmative defense means that you've already been arrested, and now you can use an affirmative defense to defend yourself against that criminal action. So when the witness says affirmative defense, that means you've already been arrested. And you have to ask yourself the question, this heavy hand of government, the heavy hand of these ordinances in Colorado Springs, where they keep losing over and over again, is that the right way to go? And I think that's what you're struggling with. Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.